My name is Dr. Wiebe Boer. I'm the author of this book, A Story of Heroes and Epics, The History of Football in Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and this book is really about the love I have for both Nigeria and for Nigerian football. The book tells the story of how football came to Nigeria as something completely foreign, and within a few short decades after 1904, when it was first played, it became something that was central to Nigerian national identity and unity. And the story traces a lot of really interesting facts on how that history happened. There's some interesting snippets along the way, things that you probably would never have known. For example, the game was first played in Nigeria in Calabar in 1904. In the 1920s, Nnamdi Azikiwe, who went on to become Nigeria's first Governor General, was actually a football star in Lagos, in the Lagos Leagues. In 1942, during World War II, Nigerian players who were soldiers in India played in leagues and were actually recognized by professionals from Arsenal and other clubs as being incredibly talented, and they predicted that Nigeria would dominate the world in football in decades to come. So there's all these fantastic stories that are in this, and one of the most significant also is the story of the 1949 team that went to England. 18 Nigerians from all over the country were selected as Nigeria's first national team and went to England to play against 9 English amateur clubs. They didn't do that well. They only won 2 games, but they actually set England alight because of how wonderful their football was and how much they loved the game. I'm going to read a portion of the book that happened a few years after that tour, where Nigerians started to now move to England and actually play amateur football and professional football in England, as well as how Nigerian football started to become international as they played games against Gold Coast, Togo, and other countries in the region, and eventually other countries around the world. So it starts in 1952. In late 1952, Titus Okere took a step that hundreds of Nigerian players would follow, going to England to play semi-professional football with Swindon Town. Okere, born in Okpala village, Owerri province, began playing football at the age of 10 at St. Cyprian's Anglican School in Port Harcourt. He continued his education at Calabari National College and the Okrika Grammar School before being discovered in Port Harcourt by Nnamdi Azikiwe during the 1941 to 1942 Zik Athletic Club's tour. By 1943, Okere was playing for Railway in Lagos, and since 1944 had played in every intercolonial and international selection unless precluded for health reasons. He became the captain of Railway in 1948, leading them to numerous Lagos League and Governor's Cup victories. His departure to England was a big loss to local football, but set the pace for the continued internationalization of Nigerian football. His brilliance in Nigerian football circles led people to query whether he might be drafted into the English national team. Okere and Nigeria were in for a big surprise, however, when the superstar of Nigerian football was relegated to Swindon Town's 3rd Division team because of substandard performances for the 2nd Division team. The truth of the quality of Nigerian and West African football had, however, been laid bare, as it became clear that one of their biggest stars could initially only manage to impress in the English 3rd Division. Perhaps Okere's performance was more indicative of the shortcomings of the amateurism forced on Nigerian players who could only play for teams run by companies they worked for, their salaries coming from employment, not football. They were also not allowed to advertise products because of the commitment to amateur status. Ironically, the same amateurism had largely been abandoned in England itself. The officials of the colonial state wished to maintain an ideal in Africa, which was not maintainable in Europe. Of the early Nigerian players who went to England to study and play football, Okere was the only one who never returned to Nigeria permanently. According to Railway and UK tourist teammate Justin Woodier, Okere was still alive and well in England when I met him there in 2001. As was the case with Henshaw, Okere, Onwudiwe, Dankaro, and the other early Nigerians who went to the United Kingdom to play football, they could only play with the understanding that they were in England for education in order to keep the facade of amateurism alive. Teslim Thunder Balogun, Nigeria's biggest star in the 1950s, who to this day still holds the record for most Governors or Challenge Cup finals appearances, spent time playing in England while studying at the London School of Printing. Balogun, an imposing 6'2" centre forward, originally went to England to play for Peterborough United in 1955, but in 1956 was signed professionally by Queen's Park Rangers. Contrary to Okere's play in England, Balogun made an immediate impact for QPR, scoring against teams like Watford and Arsenal, in the English First Division, becoming the first Nigerian to score against Arsenal, before being sidelined by an injury that demoted him to QPR's reserve team and reduced his long-term success in England. In the match against Watford, history was made when Nigerians featured on both sides, Balogun for QPR and Roy Brown for Watford, the latter born to an English mother and a Nigerian father. Indicating Balogun's status as a star, he spent time with Western Premier Obafemi Awolowo while Awolowo was in England for the Nigerian Constitutional Convention. Balogun returned to Nigeria in 1958 to become coach of the West Regional Football Association, having also taken coaching courses while in the UK.
It's great to be with you again on Channels Book Club. I hope you enjoyed meeting and listening to Dr. Wiebe Boer as he read. His book, The History of Football in Nigeria, is not just fascinating, it is also a very important piece of work within the context of Nigerian history. One of the impressive things about Dr. Boer's book is the extent of research he did to put it together. He conducted extensive research, and part of that was references to old newspaper publications dated between 1900 and 1960. Luckily for us, Dr. Boer shared some of the newspaper clips he filed for his book with us. I have a few interesting ones here. Let me share some with you. This is one dated West African Pilot, Friday, September 2, 1949. Interesting, 1949. 6,000 British football fans admire Nigerian tourists. It says the Nigerian Football Association's team created a very favorable impression before 6,000 people in the opening match of their tour here yesterday, defeating Marine Crosby by 5-2. They showed an all-round ability to move the ball where they wanted, never eased up, and shot hard with great speed. Spectators were highly impressed by the fact that they did this with bare feet. So 1949 is a very popular tour in the UK. 1949, Nigerian team was taken over there, and they were playing with bare feet. Bare feet. So it was really amazing. Then here's one. Titus Okere is signed on as professional in England team. So it wasn't just days of Stephen Keshi that we had players moving to Europe to go and play. This is dated December 10, 1952. Okay, so Nigeria's unrivaled left winger, golden boy Titus Okere, was such a talented player, has signed for Swindon Town in southwest England as a professional and will leave Nigeria soon to join his new team in January. While enjoying the full facilities of a professional, he will be attached to an establishment where he will learn a trade. Okay, so it's 1952. Titus Okere signed for Swindon. And this is a paper dated January 12, 1960. This is page 7, West African Pilot. And you can see the Nigeria Football Association's financial reports here, published. I don't know if they still do that today, but this is the financial report of the Nigerian Football Association, 1962, was publicly published. You can see here traveling expenses, hotel accommodation and entertainment, wages, playing equipment, insurance, bank charges, gate receipts, broadcast fees, and everything here. Everything here, 26,783 pounds. So 1960, NFF. And then you can see here, this one is dated, what's the date here? Saturday, May 28th, 1949. Yeah, you can see here a notification, Nigeria Football Association Governors Cup Competition, 1949 final, Railway Lagos versus Port Harcourt on the Association Ground, Lagos, May 28, 1949. Kickoff, 5 p.m. Admission, popular side, sit there. Will spectators please be in their seats by 4:45 p.m.? No seat will be reserved after the kickoff. His Excellency, the officer administering the government has graciously consented to be present and to present the cup to the winners at the conclusion of the game. Okay, so that's that. And then this is a story. I think this one is dated June 23rd, 1950. This is the face of the famous Henshaw, captain of the 1949 Nigerian team to the UK. He was really a gifted player. So you see all these papers, old newspaper cuttings, a call for Nigerianization of the NFA. Talking about the NFA, if you look at the logo of the NFA, it says that the NFA was formed in 1945. But here is a newspaper cutting here that says, where is it? I saw one here. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here's a newspaper cutting that says, this is a paper dated 1933. Okay, and down there you will see a call for the inaugural meeting of the Nigeria Football Association, 7 p.m., August 21st, 1933. So if the NFF or NFA was having an inaugural meeting in 1933, how come the logo of the NFF says the NFA was founded in 1945? Well, I don't know. But this is the 1933 papers that says they were already meeting in 1933. Okay, so these papers and more are the references Boer used in his book. You'll find quite a number of them there in that book, and makes it very interesting. You can go back in time to see what was happening, how football came to Nigeria, and a whole lot of other things about the history of the game Nigerians love so much. So Dr. Boer joined us in the studio to discuss his book and the ever-interesting subject of football.